What is good, people? Welcome back to another video on 8 Count. In today's video, I'm going to be giving you my picks and thoughts for the upcoming UFC 280 pay-per-view going down next weekend. I've been away for a while, but I thought this was the perfect sort of card to come back to. It's absolutely stacked. As always, give me your thoughts and your picks in the comment section down below. Subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any of the upcoming content. And if you enjoyed the video, please leave a thumbs up. It's greatly appreciated. I think we should just get straight into it. Gonna kick things off with the main event. Charles Oliveira taking on Islam Makhachev. For me, I think this is a great matchup, and it's kind of a weird one. I'm just gonna say it straight away. Like, I always pick against Charles, and he always comes back to bite me in the ass. He's just had such good results as of late, and the streak he's on is absolutely amazing. I think you look at the sort of fighters he's fought. You know, I've had him to lose pretty much every one. I think, you know, the sort of stigma around him being a quitter has definitely been thrown out the window now. However, it does stick with me, that Paul Felder fight where, you know, Felder was inside Oliveira's guard and he was just raining down elbows on him. And that's why it makes it really hard to not pick Islam Makhachev in this fight. I think if you look at both fighters, you'd say that Charles is, I guess, the more comfortable on the feet. And in terms of his stand-up, he's got more variety. I think he has more ways to win the fight on the feet. I think if Islam's going to get it done on the feet, it will be some sort of, you know, lunging hook, which would land and, you know, just catch Oliveira off guard. I think, you know, Oliveira's got way more sort of, you know, Muay Thai techniques, especially. The kicks are going to be kind of important. I don't know how he's going to use them. I don't think he's going to be going for too many leg kicks. I think that would leave him too vulnerable to the takedown. I could see him going with some teep kicks up the middle, you know, mixing up his sort of variation of the target. Is he going to go to the solar flex, the body, or is he going to go upstairs to the head and, you know, keep Makhachev guessing, sorry. For me, I think the techniques which are really going to get Oliveira through this fight are going to be the ones which are going to go straight down the middle. I don't think we're going to see him swinging much because he never really does. He's a very sort of calm and poised sort of striker. He applies pressure. He does it in a smart way. I think the fact that he's going up against Islam, I think Islam does like a jab, but other than that, I don't think his striking is too great. I think he relies way too much on the takedown, and I think that could cost him in this fight. I think Oliveira's got the sort of edge in the game where, you know, Makhachev doesn't know what Oliveira is going to do coming into this fight, whereas Oliveira knows what Makhachev is going to do. Going to look to take him down along the fence line, stay heavy on him, rain down with some ground and pound. You know, if there's some sort of submission there which he feels he can get, he's going to take it. Other than that, he's just going to stay on top of you for 25 minutes. And I think he's sometimes a bit more active than Khabib was, Makhachev. But I just find it hard. I'm going to pick Charles Oliveira, you know. I think in terms of the striking, you know, he knows that Makhachev's going to be going for that takedown. I wouldn't be surprised if we see him catch Oliveira on the way in with some sort of technique. I'm thinking like Beneil Dariush versus Edson Barboza style, where Barboza caught Dariush with the flying knee. I could see something like that happening. You know, he's also going to have those uppercuts as well as Makhachev's coming into range. I feel that Charles could get Makhachev tired in this fight, and, you know, Makhachev could get sloppy. I feel if this fight does go onto the ground, it's going to be not much of a... Wow, I'm not sure what sort of contest we're going to see. I don't expect Charles to get too much top position. I think Makhachev will be on top, and, you know, I think we'll be seeing Charles use the sort of skills that he has to retain guard and kind of stop Makhachev from posturing up. I don't think there's actually going to be too much action on the floor in terms of when the fight gets there. I do see these guys kind of equaling each other out. I'm going to go with Charles the Bronx Oliveira. I'm going to go potentially with a submission as well. I can see Makhachev getting tired or rocked, and, you know, Charles allowing him almost to get into a sprawl position and him potentially locking up some sort of guillotine or Darce choke. I think there's a lot of ways Charles can win this fight. And for the first time, I'm going to pick him. I normally pick against him, but this time I'm going to pick him. I think Makhachev is a brilliant fighter, and I would not be shocked if he won this one convincingly. I just have that feeling for this one, so I'm going to go with Du Bronx. We'll move on to the co-main event. An absolutely amazing fight between Aljamain Sterling and TJ Dillashaw. For me, I think Aljamain Sterling proved a lot in the last fight against Petr Yan. But I still feel there's going to be that sort of, I guess, stigma about him again. Is he still, paper champion sort of thing? For me, he showed that, he's a better fighter than he was in the first fight. However, despite getting the win, I don't think a lot of people see it as a clear victory in which he outclassed Petr Yan. And therefore, I don't think people think he's the best bantamweight in the world, because I think he is. I don't think he is the best bantamweight in the world. I think he's extremely dangerous if he can get the takedown and make his way to the back, but he's someone who's going to chuck in that body triangle, especially in these big fights. He's not going to look to risk it to get the submission. He's going to keep position and, see out some time if he cannot get the finish. If he can get you early, he's big trouble, like Sandhagen found out, but I don't think he's got what it takes in this fight to make it, hard for Dillashaw. I think the wrestling is going to be important, but I think Dillashaw's wrestling is pretty decent. I think he kind of proved that in the fights with Cruz. Yes, Cruz got a takedown here and there, but I think he does a really good job at scrambling. Also, on the ground, I feel like TJ Dillashaw is super underrated. I think it's the Sun Shao fight, which was a really interesting one. Or was it the John Lineker one where he was rolling for some sort of calf slicer? But I think he's really good jiu-jitsu sort of game. The last time out for TJ against Sandhagen, it was an interesting one, right? Because he got injury with the leg. And in a lot of people's eyes, and in my eyes, I thought that Sandhagen won the fight. But I don't think it takes away from the sort of level that TJ Dillashaw came back into and fought. And he was in a super competitive fight. And to be fair, it could have really gone either way. It did go his way in the end, but he came back against one of the best guys in the world at bantamweight and put on a hell of a performance. I think he's got too much for Aljamain, especially on the feet. I think on the ground, it's going to be a lot closer than many people suspect. I'm going to go with TJ Dillashaw to get a win here. I like a finish. I feel like a late finish could happen in this one. Somewhere around round 4, maybe a KO Dillashaw. I'm actually going to go with a decision for Dillashaw. Probably like a 40, 49, 46. Dillashaw, I think that would be... I wouldn't be surprised with that. But, Aljamain could get it done. But I'd be surprised. We'll move on to Petr Yan taking on Sean O'Malley. I'm taking it that this fight is 3 rounds. I'm not too up to date. I haven't been keeping as close as an eye on the sort of fixture and the scheduling recently with the UFC. My mind's kind of been focused elsewhere. But for me, it's tricky, this one being 3 rounds, because I don't think either of them are extremely fast starters. I think that's probably for reasons. I think both guys are extremely smart when it comes to the stand-up. I think they like to get the timing of the other guys and, make some good reads. I think this fight's going to come down to if O'Malley can get to the centre of the octagon and hold his ground early, he could potentially take round 1. And then we've got a fight on our hands. But if he doesn't, Petr Yan is able to back him up. I just don't see O'Malley being able to keep up with the volume that Petr Yan's going to come at him with. I think, Sean O'Malley could definitely hurt Petr Yan if he can find his distance and fight the fight he wants to. He's very creative in there. I love the way he feints the uppercuts and throws a straight behind it. I think he's really creative, and overall, I think he's actually a really good fighter, and I think he's underrated. I think a lot of people are big fans of him, and they don't like the fact that, he's kind of a big star, and and some people are overrating him. And I think he's now kind of underrated, if that makes sense. I know the Pedro Munoz fight was disappointing for everyone because we didn't get to see what was really going to happen, and it was a bit of a shocker in all honesty. But I'm excited to see this fight. I do think that this is a step too far, too soon for O'Malley. I think it's going to be interesting to see what he can do though with the huge size and the reach advantage and height advantage. I just don't think he's going to be able to make it pay. I do think we're going to see Jan going to the leg kicks, and I do think it's a bit of a myth about the Sean O'Malley leg kick sort of theory that he's brittle and he breaks easy. I think he's shown in a lot of his fights he's become very adept at checking now, and I wouldn't be surprised if, that kind of shuts down Petr Yan's sort of leg kick game. I could see this fight going to the ground as well. Petr Yan, I think his ground game is really good, especially his takedown and his trips from inside the clinch. I don't know if we're going to get there or not, but I think O'Malley's ground game is super underrated. I think it was Quintet he was doing, and he got a real nice submission over there. I think that was on Fight Pass a few years back now, but that was really good from him. I'm going to go with Petr Yan win though. I just think he's got too much volume. I don't think O'Malley's got the sort of power to get his respect early on. That doesn't mean that O'Malley can't knock him out. I just don't think he's got that sort of one-shot sort of power where it's going to blow Yan away. And therefore, I'm going to go Yan via decision. I think this could be fight of the night, though. I think, because O'Malley's going to have to do a lot to keep up with Yan. And if he does that, it is going to be a phenomenal fight. I'm going to go with Yan by decision, 30-27. It should be a good one, though. Beneil Dariush taking on Mateusz Gamrot. This fight's hard for me to call. I think Gamrot is a lot better on the feet. I think Dariush has become more and more capable of holding his own on the feet, but I don't think he's ever looked like he's going to be a killer in the stand-up. I think Gamrot's a bit wild in the stand-up and definitely can catch anyone, but definitely leaves himself vulnerable as well. So it's kind of that sort of, counterbalance, I guess you could say. I think in the wrestling, I think Dariush is going to be, the much bigger guy. It says that they're the same sort of height and that, but I think if you look at both men, Dariush has kind of got that more stockier build, which is going to make it interesting because I do think he's going to have a bit of a size advantage in there. Gamrot's brilliant with the wrestling as well. I think it's going to be whoever can get, if Dariush can get this to the ground, he needs to make sure he's in top control because I think Gamrot will make it difficult otherwise. I think Gamrot's scrambling ability could also make it difficult for Dariush, but he's such a good black belt. I really like this fight, and I find it quite hard to pick. If it wasn't for this sort of like late resurgence, which Beneil Dariush has had in his career, I would have picked Gamrot. But Dariush is just, I don't know what he's on at the moment. He kind of, he had some really terrible results in his career. I think the Edson Barboza one was really bad, especially the way it ended. And then to lose to Alexander Hernandez, a fighter who really isn't on his level, the way he did, I'm really surprised he's gotten back to this sort of stage in his career. And in all honesty, he's only got a couple of wins away potentially from a title shot, and it would be thoroughly deserved. I think if Dariush can get this one done, it's going to be impressive. I'm going to pick Gamrot still. I'm going to go Gamrot via decision. I wouldn't be surprised if there's a finish for Gamrot, though. I think if Dariush wins, it probably is a decision, unless he can tire out Gamrot, which would be a hard sort of task. He's a very fit individual. But I do think it would be Dariush decision or Gamrot decision. I wouldn't be surprised if Gamrot caught him with something a bit wild on the feet. But other than that, I do think these guys are really evenly matched. Gamrot fighting at featherweight in the past is a big deal because Beneil Dariush can never make featherweight. I don't know if he has fought there in the past, but right now especially, he could never make it. As far as I can remember, I don't think he's ever fought at featherweight. Yeah, man, he's a huge 155er, and I think that could be an interesting part in this fight. Caitlin Chookagian against Manon. I can never say this girl's name. Fiorot. I'm just gonna call her Manon. She's been on a hell of a rise, to be honest. I thought she was French. I saw the Poland flag above for Gamrot. But yeah, she's been on this sort of rise in the UFC, and she hasn't been here too long. I'd say probably 2 years at the most, right? And she's picked up some pretty decent performances. However, despite her being a huge favourite, well, not a huge favourite, but being a slight favourite, I guess you could say, in this fight, I think Chookagian is going to make this one difficult. I think she's one of these girls who, you know, if it was the previous era and all these weight classes still existed, I think she would have been a champion, especially in her division. But the fact that she's in the Valentina era, it kind of screws things up for her, because Valentina is one of the greats in terms of women's mixed martial arts, and she's never going to be on that level. But the level that she is on is one where she's very capable of, you know, fighting everybody else in her weight class and picking up some really big wins. Obviously, the Jessica Andrade loss was disappointing. But I think if it wasn't for that, man, she is probably the best girl in the division, still, in my opinion. You know, I know she's had some disappointing sort of results here and there, but I think she is good, really good, actually. You look at her last fights, who she's beaten: Carvalho, Araujo, Maya, and Hebas, you know, all girls who have fought Valentina already, and put on some good displays as well. For me, I'm going to have to go with the blonde fighter, Caitlin Chookagian. I think she's going to get a decision win here. I think it's the jab which is going to lead her to victory in this fight, and her high volume. As always, she's never really in like the most interesting fights, but her volume is always super high. Yeah, other than that though, guys, the prelims are absolutely stacked. I'm not going to go through them all today. I'll give you some quick picks. Mohammed Makhachev, I'll go with Rosa against Landsberg here. Makhachev, Petrosian, we'll go Nurmagomedov here. And Luis Almeida, I can't say this guy's name. Tagayov, is it? I'll go with him. He's put in some decent performances in the past. This is an interesting one. It's like, beat Nick Craig, didn't beat Nick Craig. I'm gonna go with Krylov. You know, I think he's more explosive than Volkan, and he's gonna give him problems. I'm gonna go with Kaio here. I think he's been really impressive. Obviously, his last fight against Petrosian, wasn't the best viewing experience, but other than that, man, I've been super impressed with this guy. And this is the main sort of one. Bilal Muhammad against Sean Brady. You know, this fight could easily be a fight night main event, but it's on the prelim. It's the prelim header heading into the pay-per-view event. Sean Brady, a lot of hype. Bilal Muhammad, just a veteran who was really started to get into his groove recently. I think the win over Vicente Luque is absolutely huge, to show that he can, you know, hang with guys of that quality, of that sort of quality. For me, Sean Brady's got a lot of hype, but I'm going to make a big boy call here. I haven't seen enough to think that he's warranted that hype. I'm going to go with Bilal Muhammad win. I know some of the stories about training with Sean Brady are absolutely crazy, but I'll go with Bilal Muhammad. I think he wins this fight because he gets on the front foot. He applies extremely high volume. I think he's slightly better on the feet. And I think the grappling is going to be tough, because I think Sean Brady's a lot stronger than him physically. And probably the better wrestler in terms of technique. But I think Bilal's got enough hustle to make it interesting and win a real close decision here. I'm going to go 29-28 Bilal Muhammad. A super fun card, guys. Let me know your, you know, the big three, Pierre Yan and Sean O'Malley, upwards to Charles Oliveira and Islam Makhachev. Let me know your picks for those fights in the comments down below if you've made it this far. As always, if you enjoyed the video, please leave a like. I'm going to be back again this week. I'm probably going to give my reaction for the Marshall versus Shields fight, which is going down tonight, and the Devin Haney versus George Kambosos Jr. rematch. Probably around Monday, I'll probably be giving you my reactions for those. And I want to do a video reacting to the new Undisputed, aka ESBC gameplay footage. I think that would be an interesting video to make. I will see you soon. I hope you have an amazing rest of your weekend. Peace out.